Welcome, Dr. Manjunath. Thank you for joining the meeting. Let's dive into the questions where you can share your valuable insights.
Thank you, Manoj. Thanks for the invite.
So, sir, what inspired your journey in healthcare and medicine, and what has been the most defining moment in your career?
Okay, yeah, to just begin with, after my 10th standard, when I was more authenticated or more strong in mathematics and this thing. So I thought of becoming an engineer because that was giving fast growth or the fast job opportunities were more. So my father forced me that no question of going to engineer. You have to go to PUC and become a doctor because with his background, we are a pot making this thing. So he's a basically potter. So with that, he has made his brother a doctor at Bangalore Medical College. So he got inspired that why not when my brother has studied, why not my son has to study. So he made me that you join only biology.
Right.
Okay, so there was some. Okay, so I have to join biology only. I did joined the PU college, and whenever I used to catch board my bus, I used to travel along the boarding hospital. So whenever I see the people wearing the apron, their white apron, so results had come. So I got first in
Sorry, sir,
the
it got stuck. Whenever you were passing through the boring hospital, you
yeah.
used to.
Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
see people wearing the white apron, and I used to get inspired that I want to, yeah, one day I'll also become like that. Okay, so finally the results were out, and I got in the first list the engineering, that is University UEC, that is Government College, first electronics only. So then I got in the second round medical counseling. I got in Ballari Medical College where I did my MBBS. Okay, so later on, once completing my MBBS, I want because of my financial background, I have to earn. So what I thought was I joined the job and got married early also. To be very frank with my personal life. Okay, so immediately after because most of them they don't marry, and many people used to call me, why you are marrying so early? You are not done your post graduation, all those things. Okay, so that made me motivation or frustration, I don't know. So I joined the post graduation, and I was more interested because whenever I see blood, I used to get giddiness. So I thought I can't do the surgical side, so I took up medical side. And in the medical side, the one which was more interesting was the pharma industry, where I can have a high-tech life of five-star accommodation, transportation, all those things. So I joined pharmacology, but unfortunately, when I joined Bangalore Medical College, the scope of the clinical research was not that much. So I had to go to Mumbai, search around all the places, place my CV. Okay, so nobody could select me. Then I decided I think my CV is not suitable for them. So then I joined teaching profession. After teaching profession, after 4 or 5 years, then people started calling me, you can come and join industry. Then I told now I gained more interest in teaching. I don't want to come to industry. So that was my industry stop. Career was stopped. And later on, one of my friend referred to Institute of Clinical Research in India, that was in Bangalore. Okay, he told, why don't you come and teach our clinical research students? So from there, my totally research aptitude totally changed. Okay, so I became member of ethics committee there. I started training them for the research projects. Okay, so many MSc clinical research students were there. So I trained. Even now they keep calling me. Okay, so that relation I have maintained. Okay, and I continued. Now I'm continuously doing one or the other project. At least yearly one or two. I take one or catch hold of one or two so undergraduate students, and I see that they do some small research, and I go through all the publication process and publish them. I think around 10 publications are based on the student project itself. So this is how I'm going. And as far as my teaching is concerned, I did my advanced course in medical education. Okay, so that was at St. John's Medical College. Now I'm more interested in teaching and simultaneously training people for the research purpose. So based on this, they gave me even the state award for the best teacher award in 2022. So that is how it is running, and I have not stopped even after all the achievements, everything. But still, I go. And one thing I want to boast to myself is wherever I go, whichever the hospital I go, and they immediately they introduce me to their kids as they are already professors. They introduce me as he is my teacher. You imagine what is his status. So that is how I have been inspired by teaching the teachers as well as the students. So this is my journey, madam. So break was my dad's this thing, dream, but I don't know whether I've done justice for his. I've become a doctor, but I'm not treating the patients. In other words, I'm making the people who treat patients.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. That is a much higher level job responsibility that you're
Yeah, yeah,
creating.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Oh. You asked the question, or shall I go
No,
ahead?
no, not yet. I'm just trying to have the connectivity between the first answer to the
Okay.
next question.
Okay.
That's wonderful to know, sir.
Hmm.
But how do you get to balance emerging innovations like AI and precision medicine with patient safety and clinical evidence?
Yeah, AI is entering into the healthcare now. Most of the engineers, not only engineers, even doctors are entering into the AI the systems. But one thing what I observed is AI can reduce the man force and reduce the time consumed by whatever the activity what is being done. For example, it may be documentation or any other thing. The submission of the for protocols, all those things are better. Even clinical trials are better with the AI. But what is most important is completely depending on the AI is not the good choice, because AI should be an assistant rather than the master. So we should take the assistant, they should start assisting in you. Okay, for example, in case of the patient care, I've seen many people, they just scroll through the ChatGPT or Gemini and they ask questions there, and the way they are, it is giving answers. Okay, so they just pretend that they don't have disease, or they will take their own medication going to medical shop, and they are going to end up in some or the other problem, because we have seen patients entering into the emergency room, okay, just depending on the AA. So that is not the ideal thing. Yes, you can take an assistance, get to know that, for example, I got a pain in the abdomen or pain in the chest. Okay, just Google it. But after Googling it, you should have a human interface. So better is you consult a doctor for the final evidence, because he is the right person. Okay, machine cannot give the diagnosis. Machine cannot 100% cannot give the diagnosis. You have to depend on the human who can interpret your this thing, and your disease can be much better by the way you talk with the doctor, because most of our illness are psychosomatic. Okay, so the psycho part is more, somatic part is less. So the doctor human interface is very much required. Definitely, wherever you can't manage human or your this thing is required, you can take a help of a AI.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful. So, how do you make critical decisions during public health challenges when evidence is limited and the stakes are high?
Yeah, in health profession, it is not the individual person who take a decision. Okay, individual person takes a decision in emerging situations. Individual cases, they take a decision because there is an evidence for taking a decision. But if it is comes to a public health, definitely it has to be a teamwork. So where the multiple people, the team decision has to be taken. So multidisciplinary teams are there. Okay, so for example, head injury patient comes or some accident case comes. Okay, so in order to declare them a brain dead, so we need a team of people who are to decide that whether the patient is brain dead and he can go for any organ transplantation or not. Okay, so otherwise, one person cannot take a decision. Similarly, there is a situation, for example, health outbreaks. Now, following that COVID pandemic, okay, so they have introduced in our curriculum itself called as pandemic module. That means any emergency, okay, so the preparedness has to be there. So now, over the student medical graduates are coming out, they are all trained in the pandemic module. So any emergency, what is that you are supposed to do in case of pandemic module? Okay, emergency pandemic module is one where globally it affects. That's why it's called as pandemic. Okay, so many people are involved. So again, the policymakers, decision makers have to quickly take a call. Okay, so they'll catch hold of some senior people who are in the same field. For example, the virology institution, or some people where they can generate or produce vaccines quickly so that you can control the pandemic. That means it is not the one person. There are multiple people who are involved. Okay, so who can take a call on this and see that the health outbreak or something which is not happening. Okay, so even at the government level, okay, so the health department is there. Okay, so plenty of people are there. Okay, so right from the policy makers to the decision makers, everybody will be there. They sit together, have a meeting, they decide, and what has to be taken. It is not the just a single person decision. If it is single person decision, yes, he can take a decision, even though there is no clinical evidence, but still he can take a decision depending on the risk benefit. So what is the risk? Now, for example, I'll just give an example. Okay, so a patient who was posted for labor, okay, not able to progress with the labor, she goes in for rupture uterus. Okay, so once she goes for rupture uterus, now there is inevitably you have to do the surgery, hysterectomy has to be done. Okay, so they would not have expected, but you have to do it. That means individually on spot, the healthcare worker or surgeon take a decision and takes the action. Okay, so risk and benefit has to be considered. Okay, so a lot of these issues are there happening. That's why sometimes when individual person take a decision, atrocities against doctors are there. So that's it is always better to go in a team whenever there is an outbreak. Okay, so for example, any mass encounters, mass diseases. So it has to be based on the team, and it should be multidisciplinary.
Thank you, sir.